Vivo has been releasing several phones a year. We know the X series and of course some in-between models as well. And naturally, one of those is the V series. Originally, it came with a standard and Pro version, but ever since the V50, Vivo has kept it simple. We now just have the main one. And with that, they now introduced the new Vivo V60. It brings a new design compared to the predecessors, and perhaps more importantly, a new camera style that I'm excited to showcase. So, this is the Vivo V60. Let's talk about it and of course what the camera is capable of. But we have to start with the specifications of it. We start with a display that is a 6.77 inch AMOLED display running at 120Hz and according to Vivo a peak brightness of 5000 nits. Inside it is powered by Snapdragon 7 Gen 4, naturally that runs on Android 15 with 4 major update promises for this phone. It carries an IP68-69 rating, so dust and water resistance are well covered. The battery, it's a 6500 mAh battery that can be charged up at 90 watt with the included charger in the box. For storage, you can start with 128GB and then go up to 512GB, though it sadly only uses UFS 2.2. And for RAM, the options are from 8GB up to 16GB. Now for the part that we really care about, the cameras. The main sensor is a 50 megapixel with an f-stop of 1.9, 23mm equivalent and a sensor size of 1/1.56 inches. The telephoto, also a 50 megapixel sensor, this time an f-stop of 2.7 with a 1/1.95 inch sensor size. Finally, we have the ultra-wide, an 8 megapixel with an f-stop of 2.0, 50mm equivalent and a much smaller sensor of 1/4 inches. I'm having the weirdest sense of deja vu right now when it comes to that camera hardware. Probably nothing. For video recording, it's up to 4K and 30 frames per second, but the ultra-wide naturally is capped at 1080p and 30 frames per second. So, now that the boring tech parts are out of the way that everyone will tell you, let's step outside, explore my city, wander through the open air museum and see what this Vivo V60 can really do when it comes to the camera. So let's talk about this new photography mode called film camera. Now, being a millennial without a doubt has its downsides. We lived through a lot of major events, but also it means I've experienced different eras of photography. The disposable camera, the simple film camera and of course Polaroid. This mode borrows from that nostalgia. It gives you a playful little effect where the image is presented as though it's being pushed out, like a Polaroid shot. Now, truth be told, it doesn't look exactly like Polaroid shots, and honestly I would love to see that kind of setting where it recreates it more faithfully, flaws included, that imperfect charm. Still, the results are fun and I really like the frame around the photo itself, and you can change the style a little bit with it as well. With a few tweaks, a bit of wear and a touch of aging to it, this could easily become a feature I would love to use a lot more. Something like I would do with the old vintage look that we saw on the likes of the X80 Pro and the X90 Pro. What can I say? I'm a sucker for style.
noodzaak van het maken van latrines. Het eerst bij de tentoonstellingsgebouwen, snel aan het werk, de tijd dringt. Donderdag 5 oktober. Naast Alteveerde zijn er ook geitenkampers zich op het terrein genesteld. Om 7:00 is het aantal toegelaten dichter bij de 600 dan bij de overeengekomen 200. Alles zit vol. De 3 tentoonstellingsgebouwen herbergen alleen al meer dan 200 mensen. Het witte boerderijtje, tot onbewoonbaar verklaarde woning afgezakt, herbergt nu een 20-tal mensen. Het restaurant, de blekerij, de stenen molen, de paardenhuurdershut, de plaggenhut, alles zit vol. Er zal distributie van levensmiddelen voor het museum komen met de voedselvoorraden uit de kruidenierszaken in de stad.
With the Vivo V60, we do have again a collaboration with Zeiss, and when it comes to styles, often I select Zeiss Natural. While it's pretty bright and a touch more saturated than reality and also a little bit warmer, it actually isn't too far off from what the scene actually looks like. That said, it does need some tweaks here and there to really refine the look of the shot itself. Speaking of tweaks, while you can adjust the color and exposure through the Effect Master, it lacks the more customized experience you found on devices like the X100 Ultra and the X200 series, apart from the FE. This means you cannot control the sharpness, contrast, saturation and brightness, even though the last one of course you can control, but it just works differently. And unfortunately, those controls aren't available in Pro mode either. On the positive side though, the Vivo V60 includes the latest styles we've seen on both the X200 Ultra and the FE. Classic negative, positive film and clear blue are all there. And there's also a new mode called Stage, though honestly I haven't had a chance to test out that one. Black and white however is limited to silent mode, just like the FE. There is no special size black and white here. In actual shooting, I think that the Vivo V60 is capable of getting some great shots with the telephoto and the main sensor, and during daytime, the ultra-wide, while lacking strong hardware, can still produce fine results, especially compared to some other devices that use the same sensor. That being said, if you are aiming for flower photography, you need to crop in to the main sensor, because just like the Vivo X200 FE, the minimum focus distance simply is too far to really make a count with the telephoto. 4K 30 frames per second, low light video recording. Beautiful church. You can only crop in to the main sensor. Okay, 30 frames per second. You cannot swap between different focal lengths, only crop in to the main sensor. Also 4K 30 frames per second is straight away the max resolution and frame rate it can record at. However, you can record with the telephoto as well. You just have to stop recording and then use the telephoto. Just being used now. Now for the front-facing camera, it's also limited to 4K 30 frames per second. You can crop in to 1, but technically, of course, at 0.8 is what you would normally see. The 1 is like, well, not normally see, that's the focal length of it, and the times 1 is then what you would normally get on most phones. At the end, when it comes to the Vivo V60, I think it's actually quite capable when it comes to the camera. When you use the main sensor and the telephoto, you can get some really nice results out of it. Yes, you do miss out on, of course, the telephoto having that macro capability, because the minimum focus distance just isn't that good. If you crop in ×2, you can get some actually pretty decent flower shots with it, but apart from that, don't expect amazing macro photography from it. That being said, when it comes to the new style as well, I actually really like that border style, the effect that it has when you take a picture in that new style. Do I want it over the humanistic mode? Not sure about that one. I don't want to see where it gets replaced, for instance, on the X series and so on, because I do really feel like humanistic mode has some really good potential with shots and the styles you can create and select from it. So I don't really feel like it should replace humanistic mode. But that being said, I actually think that the mode is quite fun and fits really well with a phone like this. Either way, at the end, when it comes to the Vivo V60, it is quite capable when it comes to the camera. It has great battery life, a good display, and of course overall, when it comes to the use of the phone, it's an excellent phone. There are very little complaints that I have about it in this global version, because of course you do have a version where it's the Chinese version, and I think there's an S version of it as well, but that comes without the Zeiss collaboration. Either way, let me know what you think about the Vivo V60 and of course this color that I have with it and the new design, because I do feel like the V50 and the series before it of course look more unique than the V60. That being said, I'm not mad about the design as well. Either way, I do hope that you enjoyed this video. Of course, because it is very similar to the Vivo X200 FE, I will be comparing it and showcase what these two do when it comes to the comparison itself. But do keep in mind, I do have my 3D animation job, then I have of course my normal part-time job, which I do about 24 hours a week, and then of course I have to edit my own videos as well, so it takes quite a bit to make all this stuff happen. And of course, when it comes to finding songs via Epidemic Sound, it has a lot of songs, but it is the worst search engine ever. Either way, I do hope that you enjoyed this video, and of course, before we leave, I really want to thank my members. Thank you so much for the support. It really means a lot to me, so thank you so much for the support that you guys have been giving me. Of course, if I have some WAV files, I will be sharing them with you as well to showcase the WAV file capabilities when it comes to the Vivo V60. And of course, if you want to become a member, you can by clicking join below. Either way, hope you enjoyed this video, and of course, talk to you guys in the next.